Thank you, Sister Jane, and thanks to you and Don for handling all the arrangements. It's just great being here tonight with all of you. First, let me say a few words about our ancestors, for they in their turn surely spoke about their ancestors. And those ancestors likewise spoke about a heritage of which they were proud. More than half a century ago, our Lonsdorf grandparents celebrated their golden wedding anniversary in the Wisconsin village of Athens. And that means they were married over a century ago. We are reaching back, aren't we? In a way, it was fitting that this celebration was held in Athens, for the Athens of old, the early center of learning and of achievement through motivation, symbolized the achievement of all men, including our immediate ancestors. I was at the Lonsdorf Golden Wedding celebration. I remember it vividly, as though it occurred only yesterday, and I'd like to share some memories with you. There was Grandpa Lonsdorf, tall, 6'4", big German nose with his black handlebar mustache, and with his dark suit and black hat, which he wore that day, the guy was awfully impressive to a small child. Think of it. He was the first white boy born in Manitowoc County. And think what that old Indian, Chief Manitowoc, might have thought when he heard that a white kid was born in his territory. And I remember Grandmother. She wore a blue flowered dress that day. She was a modern gal. And I remember she always called me Little Dude. And I remember being on a Lonsdorf farm near Manitowoc. This was before they sold the farm and retired in Athens. What do I remember? It sounds silly today. I remember Grandma placing me on a little potty against the wall in that large farm kitchen. And I remember her walking to some place in the kitchen, getting a spoonful of sugar and placing it on the hot kitchen range top. Heck, they didn't have perfume Lysol in those days, and the smell of that burnt caramelized sugar sure did the trick. I remember our own Mom and Dad and Mom's sister Laura. They were all at that golden wedding celebration, and I vividly remember our uncles, Mom's brothers. There was Ferd, the oldest uncle, the successful owner of Athens General Store, and whenever we kids entered, he gave each one of us an old-fashioned chocolate cream drop, scooped out of a big barrel which stood on the floor next to the wooden counter. Uncle Bert was there. Brother Paul spent his summers on Bert's farm. Paul was going to be a farmer. Tall, lanky Uncle Bill was there. He was the owner of a large dairy farm. And I remember summers during threshing time when the steam-operated threshing machine came down that old dirt road with its big wheels turning to the side of its boiler, and its whistle. Gad, that thing shrieked across the wheat fields. We kids spent many happy summer days on Bill's farm. Uncle John was there. This guy was self-educated, a teacher, district attorney of Appleton, a student and admirer of Abe Lincoln. He loved Abe, and when John retired, he built himself a log cabin in northern Wisconsin to live as Abe did. And Uncle Art, the University of Wisconsin educated agricultural agent, was there. I remember him on the dance floor, which was above Ferd's General Store. Uncle Art was doing some fancy dance steps. His heels moved high in the air, and it fascinated all the ladies. They all wanted to dance with him. I remember these things. Uncle Ray, the youngest, he arrived in Athens in a brand new automobile, and therefore had the privilege of driving Grandma and Grandpa to church, which was just a short distance up the narrow dirt road. Oh, and speaking of Ferd's General Store, Paul, forgive me for telling this one on you, but Paul got his first suit of clothes from Ferd's General Store. It was greenish in color, and it had narrow pants legs, and was a little short for him. I remember Paul was very, very unhappy. I think at that time they called trousers that didn't drag at the heels high water pants. And at that time, dragging bell-bottom trousers were in style at Lincoln High, Manitowoc. And if we are permitted to tell stories out of school, let me tell you about Brother Ben. Dad's brother Joseph married to big, wholesome, pioneering stock Aunt Kate, took a special liking to Brother Ben. And since Joe and Kate were childless, Brother Ben, who spent a few summers on their farm, was to inherit it and become a farmer like Paul. Can you imagine Brother Ben a farmer? Or Paul, for that matter. Anyway, one summer day, Ben went to Kate's cucumber patch and ate several garden fresh cucumbers. Then he went to the barn where Uncle Joe was milking the cows. So naturally, Uncle Joe gave Ben a full cup of nice, warm, fresh cow's milk. Well, that didn't mix very well, and the story goes that Ben lost his cookies and didn't eat for several days, but that didn't keep Brother Ben from wanting to inherit that farm. No, sir. However, Joe and Kate had an accident. Of all the darned things, little Joey was born, and Ben lost out. By the way, I talked with Brother Ben last Sunday and told him we are setting a place for him so that in spirit he'll be with us at this reunion tonight. Let's pause a moment and think about that wonderful guy. And tomorrow, after we visit Mom and Dad's gravesite in San Jose, let's phone Ben. Each sister and brother can say hi to him. We could reminisce all evening, remembering that Paul, for some darn reason, was called Lummy. Leonard had the nickname Petty, which he really changed as soon as he got old enough. He changed it quickly to Ben. Raymond, of course, Chubby. William, Billy. Ralph, Bugney Elf. Eleanor, Dolly, and that's because when people looked at her in the baby buggy, they didn't believe she was real. Everyone thought it was a doll. And also that's why as a kid, when on my paper route I earned a life-size baby doll which talked and sang songs, I presented it to the real Dolly. I had earned the doll by getting 7 new subscriptions to the Manitowoc Herald newspaper. Jane, Tootsie, and Rosie came along, and everyone said 2 more beautiful dolls were added to the family. We brothers were and are proud of all 3 sisters. Each one is terrific. In our thoughts, we give them 3 cheers. Oh, there's a heritage on both sides of our family of which we can be proud. And by the way, tonight, the city telephone directory of Prague, Czechoslovakia, lists a dozen Houfeks. There are 6 Josephs, 1 Carol, 1 Leopold, 2 Stanislavs, and 2 Vaslavs. Then there was Mom and Dad's golden wedding anniversary in Appleton. Remember? And this drew the last remaining brothers together, Bert, John, and Bill, as well as Mom's sister Laura. At that celebration, we talked about memories, for man's capacity to remember keeps alive occasions as beautiful as those I have mentioned, and as beautiful as this one. More importantly, many of you of the next generation who were at that celebration met for the first time, and not since then, a quarter of a century later, have you again, as a group, met until tonight. In closing, all of which I have related, all of these memories bring us together tonight, at this moment, once again as a demonstration of our unity, where the good Lord, with the help of a strong pioneering stock, has preserved a remarkable family. No slouchers here, respectable, dignified achievers, for we are the guts of which America is made. It's guys and gals of our caliber, of our national loyalty, and of our dedication that has made America the great nation it is. In addition, we here tonight served our nation well during World War II. 5 of us from one family, brothers Paul, Bill, Bud, and myself, and Dolly, who joined the first class of spars. We laid our lives on the line because we believed in heritage. We believed in the noble heritage of our family and of our country. In these thoughts which I have expressed tonight, I have committed omissions, important ones I'm sure, but there's only so much one can highlight. In the main, I wanted to emphasize our heritage, of which we are so so proud. And I want to emphasize to the generations that follow, you have a heritage of which you can be proud, a noble one, a heritage strengthened through the years by trial, by toil, and by integrity. And since this is your inheritance, you have a commitment. You have a commitment to subscribe to self-improving disciplines, a commitment to put forth effort to achieve, a commitment to develop yourselves into complete human beings, a commitment to demonstrate your appreciation of this noble heritage so that the generations to follow you can look back and speak with pride about their ancestors, about you, about a heritage of which all can continue to be proud. It's great being here tonight with all of you. And let's always remember our beautiful Mom and Dad. I thank you.